Okay, welcome back to part two of our amazing digestive journey. All right, now we're going to focus on the different parts of the system. So we're going to start looking at our diagram here. We're going to start with this one over here. This is going to be the mouth. So the mouth refers to this whole bit here. But we're also, while we're looking at this next slide, we're going to talk about the function of our teeth, which is this one. And we're going to talk about the function of our tongue within our mouth. So all of those are part of our mouth. And this is the first organ in our digestive system. So let's have a look at the mouth. This is the entrance to the process. We're going to go in. Oh, all right. So we're going to go in. Oh no, we're not going to go that far. What's happened? We're going to come back to the mouth. Okay. So this is the entrance, and this is where our food, first off, is being broken down mechanically. So think about what have we got in our mouth that's going to help us to tear apart the food. So this is where our lovely teeth come into play. Our teeth are going to do that mechanical breakdown in our mouth. So teeth mechanically breaking down the food in our mouth. We also have salivary glands, okay? Now they are going to secrete saliva that, and I've got a blank here, okay? It has these things called enzymes in it. So to break down, and in particular, it's going to break down food chemically. Right? You can do an experiment. You can pause the video. You can go and find a piece of bread, and I want you to put a little piece of that bread, like not the crust, just some of the like fleshy, nice, soft bit in the middle. I want you to put that in your mouth, but don't chew it. Okay, so we're not going to do the mechanical digestion. I want you to stop, and I'm just going to see if you can experience some of the chemical digestion that happens in your mouth. Now, what you should find is after a couple of minutes, the bread that went in and tasted quite bland to begin with should begin to taste sweet. Now, the reason it's tasting sweet is because what we're getting is we're getting the action of these amazing things called enzymes. Okay? So these enzymes, that didn't work at all. Okay, so we're going to talk about these things called enzymes. Enzymes are amazing. Now, in your mouth in particular, you have an enzyme called amylase. Now, amylase's job is to break starch down into sugar. So what you will get if you put that piece of bread in your mouth, bread is starchy. Over time, you can see or you can taste what's happening with the enzymes in your mouth because it should become sweet. So we've got the function of our food. The function of our teeth is to rip it apart. We've got the function of our saliva is to start digesting it, breaking it down chemically. But we need to now get this mushed up food down to the next part of our digestive system. So this is where your tongue comes into play. So your tongue, its job is to make the food into a bolus or a ball by your tongue. You'll know if you haven't made a good bolus because that's when you start to feel like you're having a really big thing that's going to pass down into your throat and you're like, oh, this is no good. So bolus is really important to be able to get through that. So let's go back to our diagram, make sure that we've got this annotated correctly. So our teeth, what do our teeth do? They do some mechanical digestion. I'm not going to write down the whole thing. You should have been writing more. Our tongue is going to form the thing called a bolus, so make sure those words are there. Our mouth in general, we're going to have saliva, does chemical digestion as well. All right, so that's kind of a whole bunch of stuff that's happening in your mouth that you never even realized. And all of that is pivotal to getting us on the way to a good digestive path. So now we come to this next part here. Now you cannot feel your esophagus. If you feel your throat, what you're actually feeling is your trachea. So you're feeling all of those bones, or what seem like bones, but they're actually rings of cartilage. And your esophagus sits just behind your trachea there. So when we come back to our diagram here, you can see we're now down at this part here, and we're going to label our esophagus. When you look this up, you might find that Americans don't spell it with an O. That's their prerogative. They don't like to use the proper English, but I would like you, if you can, to start spelling the esophagus with an O. So this is our nice muscular tube that passes food from the mouth to the stomach. So this is the bolus. Here is your, oh, sorry girls. Here is the bolus. The bolus is going to keep moving. Yeah. And can you see how it's being squeezed from the top down? This method is called peristalsis. It's kind of like squeezing a tube of toothpaste. That's how it moves the food down your esophagus. So your esophagus, nice muscular tube, squeezes, does all of this squeezing, and it moves that ball of food down to your stomach. Now that takes about 20 seconds. Okay, so about 20 seconds, it goes all the way down. Now I don't have this on the picture, but there is another thing that's happening up the top here. So up the top here, right at the back of your throat, there's something called an epiglottis. Now an epiglottis is a flap to prevent food going down your trachea. We don't want that. Okay, so it's going to stop the food going down your trachea. So your esophagus, if we're going to add some points to it, you should have more than this, but I want you to at the very least have the word peristalsis when we're talking about what's happening in your esophagus. Now we've got one more organ to do in this video, and then I'm going to do a second video on the second part of the digestive system. So the last bit of what I call my upper digestive system is your powerhouse. This is the one we always talk about with our digestive system. It's your stomach. Now it's quite high. You might want to think about it being just kind of underneath your rib cage, or just kind of at the base of your rib cage. That's where your stomach is located. So you've got your mouth, you've gone down your esophagus, and now we're in our stomach. This is where we get a couple of things happen. Number one, there's heaps and heaps of chemical digestion. We have lots of acid in our stomach. It's pretty dangerous. If that acid was to come out, it would burn a hole in things. So surrounding the inside of all of our stomach is actually like a mucus. And that mucus lining is there to protect our stomachs from getting destroyed. So we've got gastric acid, which is hydrochloric acid. We also have more enzymes in our stomach. These ones are different enzymes. So the enzymes in our mouth broke down starch, which is in bread, and carbohydrates. The ones in our stomach like to start breaking down proteins. So things like your meat, your legumes, fish, all of those, they start to get broken down by the enzymes in your stomach. In addition to that, now you may feel this, particularly if you're hungry. You might feel your stomach grumbling. When your stomach grumbles and it moves around, that is actually it mechanically digesting your food. So we've got mechanical digestion and chemical digestion in my mouth. We don't have any digestion in the esophagus. It's just a pathway, a tube. And now in our stomach, we get both mechanical again and chemical digestion. So we're doing lots and lots of breakdown. We're just kind of tearing apart this food, making sure it's really, really small. Now, the reason we want it really small is because we need it like that for the next part of our digestive system. Now, we don't want the acid to just come out whenever we want. So we've got two different things in our stomach, and these are called sphincters. That's such a good word, isn't it? So sphincters, you've got one at the top and one at the bottom, and it's kind of like this. So a sphincter goes tight and closes, and then it opens up and allows things off and goes tight and closes, opens it up, closes it off. You might think, where else do you have a sphincter in your body? We're going to come back to that one. So having a look at our diagram, where are we? We're over on the right-hand side over here. Ooh, that's not going to help me because that's a highlighter. So we're going to come over here and we're going to say this is our stomach. So we have a couple of things happening here. We've got chemical digestion with acid and enzymes. We've also got mechanical digestion happening in our stomach too. And it's really, really acidic. There's one more bonus to having a lot of acid in our stomach. Now, prior to this, we haven't been able to get rid of any of the nasty things. So sometimes we eat food, it can't be completely clean. So it might have bacteria or nasties on it. So the acid does break down the food, but it also starts to kill off the nasties. And I'm going to leave our journey at the stomach now. And the second part of my video is going to focus on this bit down here.